Hi, I'm Matthew from scholarshipstoyou.com. We're an online platform that helps students to apply for scholarships worldwide. We work with institutions from over 16 countries and about 400 institutions. Besides helping students to apply for scholarships, we also provide education counseling and advisory services, application services as well for students to want to study overseas or even locally. So in this video, we're going to talk about how to plan for your education moving forward. Whether you're in Form 4, Form 5, doing IGCSEs, Year 10, 11, the planning should be starting now for the next 5 to 6 years of your educational journey. So this video is for you. Now we're going to talk about how to plan for your education moving forward. So a lot of times, students just continue studying and then they finish SPM, for example, or IGCSE, and then they go into the next step of education. Maybe A levels, maybe they follow their friends to study foundation, and so on and so forth. But is that really the best way to plan? So we have our own methodology whereby instead of just going from level to level, identify the end in mind and then work backwards to where you are. So this methodology assures a lot more alignment, a lot more cohesion towards your studies. So what do I really mean? I'll give you an example. If you want to go to travel, right, you don't just get in a car and start driving and then only decide where you want to go. So it is better to actually have a destination in mind. So for example, you may say, I want to go to Penang. Okay, so you identify the end goal is you want to travel to Penang, and then you decide on what budget do you have. I have maybe $2,500, and this is the budget I have. And then you plan what activities you want to do and how long your holiday is going to be. Say 4 days, 3 nights. I'm going to visit a few theme parks. I'm going to drop by a few places to eat. So you plan all that, then only you start your journey. Same thing with education planning. It is much better to identify your end goal. For example, I may want to be a lawyer. I have this budget. Do I want to study overseas or do I want to study locally? Okay. And based on this budget, what is my transition over the next 5 years, 4 years before I become a graduate of law, right? So these parameters must be set, must be thought of, must be planned before you actually start your journey on your education. So to elaborate further, right, you may say, okay, based on this budget, I should be doing A levels, right? I should be doing A levels, not foundation, not the Australian matriculation. I should be doing A levels, and then I want to target a 2+1, 2 years locally and 1 year overseas, because that's the budget I have, right? Now, once you plan all that, then work back towards where you are today, right? And then only start your journey. Now that you know you need to have an end in mind and then work towards where you are now, I'm going to teach you how exactly to plan this step. All right. So the first step, you actually need to know 3 things. You need to develop your knowledge in 3 areas before you can plan this effectively. The first area is you need to know yourself well. So when we talk about knowing yourself, are you talking about your personality? Yes, we are talking about your strengths, maybe your weaknesses. What are the things you like? What are the things you do not like? And you would have actually known throughout your educational journey some things that you find yourself doing better than others, while some of your friends may be doing other things better than you in some areas. So when we say find out about yourself, we are talking about finding out your competencies, your natural strengths and abilities. So the first step starts with yourself, and how to find out is that we have these tools called profiling tools or psychometric testing, right? And there are many types. There are behavioral types, there's some personality types. Ours is trait-based. Basically, traits are more inborn, more natural abilities versus something that you develop or learn throughout your life. Why do we use traits-based profiling or psychometric tools? Is because they tend to be very much more stable throughout life. So for example, if I'm very numerical, I like numbers, I tend to like numbers throughout life. I can't like numbers today and tomorrow I don't like numbers, right? Or if you're very good with languages, you can't suddenly be not good in languages. So traits are very constant, and it is a good predictor of your what you pursue throughout your career. The reason being, careers are throughout your life. It can be 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. So if your habits keep changing, how are you going to predict? Whereas if it's predictable, then you can actually use these tools to plan your future. So that is the first area of knowledge, yourself. Now the second area of knowledge that you need to bring and build is, what are the careers out there in the market? So many times when we speak to young adults, it's very hard for them to decide what they want to be because they do not know what is out there. So how to decide what you want to pursue if you do not know what is out there? So you do need to read up, you do need to talk to people and build your knowledge in the area of careers. Now we have a career chart here called the AVOCA, which is Assessment of Vocation, Occupation and Career Aptitudes. This chart lists over 200 different career types, which will help you identify some of the careers that might suit you, and also clusters of careers. So you may not need to know now, I'm definitely going to be a doctor or a lawyer, but you can identify clusters of careers that might be interesting to you, that might suit your strengths. So that's good enough for planning, and that's good enough if you're in Form 4, Form 5, or just finishing pre-university. That's a good indication and a good way for you to start planning right now. The other tip that I would like to share is that you can Google the top 10 most popular careers today, or the top 10 highest paying jobs today, right? You can also Google the top 10 trending jobs or top 10 future jobs. So these are some of the things you can do to start building your knowledge in the area of careers. And right now, after you build your knowledge, I want to encourage you to select 5 to 7 different career types that might suit you. That would be the next step. Now, the third area of knowledge that you need to build up then is education planning. What courses to study, where to study, and which course will get you best to the career that you want. Okay? Now, the other thing is not just courses and academic development. I want to encourage you to have skills development within yourself as well. For example, if you want to study to be a lawyer, you attend a law course, right? And you want to be go to court, do a lot of litigation and court cases. But you don't want to develop your skills in language and speaking. That doesn't make sense, does it? So you also need to develop your skills in tandem to your ambition, in tandem to the career that you choose. So there are so many courses in the world today. There's double degrees, there's masters, there's PhDs. There's no end to it, and it's very hard to build all the knowledge within a short period of time. This is where you need to come to a professional education counseling center to help and work with you through all these options in order to find the destination and the course within your budgets that suits you to get you to where you want to be in your career. So this is where I want to encourage you to start talking to us or any other professional education counseling center to help you on this journey. For those of you who are in the science stream, you're already studying the science subjects, probably biology, chemistry, physics, mathematics, or additional mathematics as well, right? Science stream is generally more slightly deeper than non-science stream. Some people say you need a lot more intellectual thought into it. It's not to say it's exclusively for students who are deeper, but most students should be able to pursue a science stream as long as they're interested in science-related subjects. Now, where does it get you in terms of career. Let's go back to the example that I gave. Now that you've identified your strengths, you've chosen science stream, now I want to encourage you to look into the careers that suit those in the science stream. So referring back to this chart, this avoca, science stream students are generally in more of the blue quadrant and yellow quadrant, and some of them in the green quadrant. So when you look into this chart, try to identify 5 to 7 professions in these 3 quadrants. Blue predominantly, some of the yellow, and some of the green, right? And these would be the careers that you will be targeting. Now, the other thing you need to then match is what subjects you're currently studying or are going to choose. Sometimes you may drop 1 or 2 subjects. You may pick up 1 or 2 subjects. So these subjects need to match those 5 to 7 careers that you just chose in this chart. The reason being, there are some careers that require certain subjects. Very simple would be, example would be medicine. If you want to study medicine, you will definitely need biology, chemistry, right? A lot of them encourage you to have physics and additional mathematics, or at least reasonably advanced mathematics. And they need you to have good scores. So if you are not already taking these subjects, that's something for you to caution, because then you're unlikely to be able to target those careers. Another example would be if you've chosen engineering. You need to take 2 maths. So at this stage, when you're choosing your career, you need to then quickly match that with what subjects you're currently studying in school to make sure that it is still aligned, you still have the prerequisites to pursue that career. Now that you realize you have chosen the subjects and it aligns with the type of career that you have chosen, 5 to 7 different types of careers. Now we talk about your next pathway of education. So you're studying your subjects, you're going to finish the exam, you're going to finish SPM, you're going to finish IGCSEs, and then what? What is your next level of education for pre-university? Now this is where it's very important because you have a wide range of options available, especially in Malaysia. You can do the STPM, you can do the A-levels, you can do the Australian Year 12 program, Canadian Year 12 program, American degree program, diploma, and foundation programs. Which one of these to choose? So let me first say this. Each one of these programs has advantages and disadvantages. The key to finding which of these programs suit you is, once again, go back to your end goal. If your end goal was to be a doctor, then I would encourage you, obviously you need to be reasonably good in your studies, in your current subjects. I would also then encourage you to either definitely do a government's program. When I say government's program, means backed by government, which means A-levels, the Australian pre-university, the Canadian pre-university, and so on and so forth. Whereas the non-government programs would be the foundation programs. A foundation program is basically a program issued and backed by the individual institution itself that is issuing. So it could be a Monash foundation program. It's for Monash. It can be accepted by other universities because Monash is high ranking, but it isn't always so. It further complicates matters when you need to go overseas. If you do a local foundation program and you score very well and you can get a scholarship to go overseas, but they don't recognize local foundations. So once again, if you're a strong student and you're going for a professional degree or a degree that is very challenging, medicine or dentistry or engineering, I would encourage you to take a government's program. So do the A-levels or any other formal government's program, including the STPM. Just to elaborate a little bit more about the pre-university options. When you talk about foundation programs, now foundation programs serve a certain specific purpose. For example, if you haven't been exposed to accounting as a subject, but you are from the science stream, okay, and you want to do a foundation program, or you want to do business at degree level, you do a foundation in business. That's fine, because you've always been in science. You do a foundation to build your knowledge in some areas of commerce before you pursue a business degree. So science students can go to business or art, but not the other way around. But to take a foundation program in science, to me, there is no need, and it doesn't make so much sense. Unless you are struggling with certain subjects, you take a foundation program. But then again, you could also take a government's program in those subjects. So a foundation program in science does not hit the necessary things, because you could not do a foundation program in science if you're from the art stream anyway. So these are some of the things to watch out for, and again, speak to your counselling centre for the finer points in educational planning. Now that you've identified which pre-university program that you want to study, the next question is where to study. It can be done locally, it can be done abroad. There are many opportunities also, I would like to add, for scholarships in this area, perhaps just as much as at the degree level. So you want to be in touch with our website or some scholarship websites that highlight some of these opportunities available, especially if you're a strong student. Now that you've identified your pre-university, right, and the pathways it gives you, so it may, if you are doing the American degree program, obviously the pathway is to universities in America. If you're doing Australian, it could be to Australia, it could be also to local institutions, and so on and so forth. And the next step to that is choosing your subjects that lead you to the degree options. Now, this area has a lot of variability because there's so many options of 2+1, 1+2, 3 years local, or even 3 years overseas. So do get in touch with us to help you plan. I always say this, it's a process that the education counsellor works with you to identify which is the optimum institution within your budget, in the country that you want, as well as giving all your skills necessary for your career target. When I say skills, it also includes when you study overseas, you develop a wider sense of perspective. It gives you exposure. It changes you also socially. And in some ways, all employers are looking at the flexibility of the students and graduates nowadays when they hire people for the jobs. At the end of the day, we are talking about global citizens, and this is what the employers are looking for. So you need to have in mind all these other factors, which is of course a lot to think about, a lot to do it on your own. So get in touch with a professional who will work every step of the way with you to help you decipher and identify and find a path, right? Find a solution, find a plan that works for you. So we've talked about quite a few things today. We talked about how to plan for your education, know yourself, have an end in mind, and then what to study in order for you to get there. We've also talked about some of the pathways for science stream students, some of the pathways for non-science stream students, and what are the options available. Thank you. Do get in touch with us at this link so we can guide you and help you plan your education and career for your success.